we're pleased to welcome now Leah Long with the National Federation of Independent Small Business, serves as the director for Mississippi and Louisiana. Hey, Leah.
Hey, good morning. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic. So we wanted to have you on to talk about a recent survey, an NFIB Small Business Optimism survey, where you guys calculate the index. This was conducted back in August, and a lot of small and mid-sized businesses don't appear to be feeling too cheery about the current conditions and also the future.
Yeah, so I think that's kind of overall aspect of America right now. I don't think anyone's too cheery about the state of the economy, but definitely not small business owners. It's actually 2.5 points lower than it was in the following month. So their optimism is pretty low. Has to do with inflation, the cost of goods, and even on a federal level, we're focusing on the Main Street Tax Act, which is set to expire in 2025. So all those things combined right now is not really helping small business owners.
Do you sense also, I'm not sure if this was included in the polling, but just overall stress and uncertainty, given we have a presidential election, and at this point, I think it's fair to say it's unclear as who's to be the likely winner.
It's unclear. Both candidates have been saying, what they will do for small business. And so it's one of those things, it's a waiting game. And, even when the election happens and the next day, it's not like the economy is going to drastically get better the next day. Yeah. So, when candidates say that, it always kind of makes me laugh a little bit on a personal level, because tomorrow's problems are still going to be there. It's going to take a little bit. And so one of those things right now, focusing just, on the tax break aspect, the 20% deduction, like I mentioned earlier, huge thing. It's going to cost these, small business owners millions of dollars. And so, when they have these savings, I always say they give back to their economy, they put back in their business. And so that's something we need to keep around. And we have been telling every congressional, member for this, they need to sign on and they need to get this redone in 2025 and make it permanent.
Yeah, and we're talking specifically about what's called the qualified business income deduction. That was a key provision of the Tax Cuts and Jobs Act. And of course, many of your members, the small and mid-sized businesses, do file individually as pass-through entities. And so the 20% allows them, and so all the income flows to them, the owners, individually based on their equity ownership. The 20% allows a deduction of that net income produced in the company before it's then distributed for tax purposes. Mm-hmm. Yeah, if that expires, that would be a huge tax increase on small, mid-sized businesses.
It could actually, put some of these businesses out, Some of them rely on that. And so that's something big right now. And, inflation, you think about, if this doesn't get made permanent, you have on top of the economy, inflation, that's going to kill a small business owner.
Yeah. What about this proposal from Kamala Harris to increase the startup cost deduction from $5,000 to $50,000? Is that something being talked about in the small business community? Of course, your members are existing small businesses. This wouldn't necessarily apply to them, but perhaps those that are considering starting a business, what's their attitude towards this? Have you heard anything?
We haven't really talked to our members yet about that. I know she brought that up in the debate the other night, a big deal about that. And we haven't really spoke to the members to kind of see what you said. Most have already pre-existing. And, we always want to make Mississippi a better, business-friendly opportunity to open a business and, start a business there. So we really haven't dug deep into that yet. That'll be kind of on the federal level of what does that look like? Is this actually going to thing? I always say, they're going to say this right now, just like the student loan thing that they did, the last election cycle. So it's one of those things that I think we're focusing on right now versus what the promises could be to try to make it better and easier for a business right now to function in everyday environment.
I'm a little curious about the concerns coming from your members with respect to inflation. Of course, that could affect retail sales if they have to raise prices just to protect margins, and then the demand for products and services could, of course, fall as a result of that. It's a fine line that they walk there. There's no doubt about that, trying to find that optimum price point. But we've got data coming from the government showing the cost of inputs, the producer price index, which could affect perhaps many of your, probably all of your members, honestly, shows that it's kind of moderating and getting in line. Is that what they're experiencing in reality, though?
I don't think I think that is false reality. Yes, they're definitely feeling this. That's always I love to use that term, false reality, because they are reporting that inflation. The fact that the labor quality. There's jobs to be had. 40% of our members reported that there was 4% of job openings they couldn't fill, not because there weren't candidates. It's just the qualified. And
Hmm.
so I know a big thing that we're talking about in the South right now is insurance costs, whether that's premiums for the health insurance you offer or, property insurance, auto insurance. All these things add up to make it more expensive to operate a business. And then you have
Yeah.
to then make sure you don't pass those costs down to the consumers, but you also want to offer great paying jobs for these employees. And so you said earlier, it is a balancing act. And so reality is it's still tough. I don't think, this isn't a fantasy land. These business owners are still having a very hard time.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm hearing I have friends in the commercial insurance business talking about how the carriers are raising premiums. These are brokers, of course, agents that then represent those carrier products to their customers, the end user insured. They're saying carriers are coming back with renewals that are significantly higher than the prior year. And now we're getting all sorts of warnings from the health insurance industry that employers should expect an increase in health insurance premiums next year.
Yeah, that's going to make it very hard for these business owners because they've set aside this amount of money. And then it's one of those things that a business owner, what do you offer with a health insurance? Because we're always big on we don't want the government to mandate what an employer should cover. They want to offer the best quality for their employees. Being a small business owner, it's a family operation. That's why you work for a small business, because you have that kind of personal touch to it. And so being able to make sure that your employees are okay, you're also okay, and offer them a good quality of life along with yours, it goes back to balancing line. I feel like I say that 25 times a day, but it's true because at the end of the
Yeah.
day, that small business owner is worried about their family, paying the bills, and their employees' families.
Yeah. You're also seeing a lot of slowdown in the big box retailers as well. Big Lots just filed last week for bankruptcy. Dollar General, their sales are off, their stock's down precipitously. We've had some other of these big chain outfits file for bankruptcy in the last couple of years. Are you starting to see this now matriculate into the small business community? Is it causing problems for them? Just sustainability.
Not so much where they're closing their doors, but it does, at one point they're going to have to eat a cost. And I was on an interview last week and someone said they know a small business owner, and instead of raising their costs, they actually basically ate into their own revenue and profit because they don't want to worry about losing their consumers or their product marketing opportunities because they don't want to raise the cost. So I think that's something a lot of people don't think about. A lot of these small business owners, they don't raise their costs. They have to be able to compete with the big box stores, but they're also concerned if they do, then that shopper that's a local shopper is going to go down the street to go to the big box retail store. So,
What about
it's one of those things. Okay.
Yeah, I was just going to say, what are they reporting just in terms of overall margin maintenance and just bottom line profitability? Are they starting to voice concerns about that?
They're starting to voice concerns because the cost of everything has went up, and the cost of just operating a business is drastically more expensive than it was 4 or 5 years ago. So it's eating into the margin of everything for them.
One thing I noticed in the report in terms of that the NFIB ran, the survey, capital outlays, 24% up from the prior month. What do you think's driving that?
I think it's just, new business opportunities. We kind of came back from summer. I know Mississippi and Louisiana both, you had the tax-free weekend, shoppers were big. So I'm hoping, for them at least, revenue was up and they are investing it back into their business. And that's what I
Yeah.
say all the time. We need to keep this tax deduction so they can operate and, reinvest in their business. And that it creates more jobs. It creates more opportunities for the community and the economy.
Yeah. Yeah, just final statement is that this bonus depreciation, we got to reinstate that because all these folks benefit from that, and that, as you know, is being phased out. We got to get back to where we were when it was passed in 2017. Leah, always good to talk to you. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Folks, we're stepping aside for a break. Coming right back in the Element Wealth